Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. The big question as we sit here today is who really won the war of words and who got the higher stimulus check, higher FPUC, and ultimately did holding out for much of nothing really help the Temple of Doom or actually hurt her? As we're just days away, 22 days from the elections, are Democrats going to be hurt by seeing that they did much of nothing but hold out for a deal offer which they never got, and for a deal that was actually eventually given to them that was actually quite good, and that they rejected over the weekend? This is Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Great, incredible news today as we see more about how wonderful, great, higher, and bigger the deal offer from Steve Mnuchin was to the Temple of Doom. More stimulus checks, bigger amounts, the potential of another stimulus check next year, higher FPUC, and ultimately a deal rejected very summarily, very quickly, or perhaps incorrectly. Go to the front of the channel, subscribe, because we are breaking things down to make it very simple for you, easy to understand, and also fun to listen to at the same time. Also like this video. In Pelosi versus MNUCHIN today, we go over why Nancy Pelosi made a calculated error in rejecting Steve Mnuchin's last offer and using things like science and children and hungry and things like that that really don't analyze numbers, because the numbers were actually really good. All right, let me get to the breaking detail. The breaking detail as you sit here tonight is that three groups really did much of nothing for us. And ironically, the Purple Tower did more than any of them combined. Who are they? You know who I'm about to say. The Blue Dogs, the New Democrat Coalition, the Problem Solvers. Throughout all this, what did they do? Except say, talk a little bit more. Go talk a little bit more, Nancy and Steve. Well, that wasn't much of anything. The problem solvers proposed something that got the things going. And after that, they sort of fell by the wayside. The Blue Dogs had urged Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin to go with standalone bills. They wouldn't do it. And the New Democrat Coalition never really talked about numbers. Just said, let's do stimulus checks and enhance unemployment benefits. Well, how about the numbers? And so ultimately, the Purple Power got more in the last 2 weeks than any of those groups combined got to in any of those days. In fact, your achievements in the last 7 days are incredible. On Thursday and Friday, Steve Mnuchin debuted his new bill, but we didn't know the details until today and yesterday. And the bill details in this video will show you how good they were and how much he may have been watching this channel and listening to you, the Purple Power. First, his stimulus check offer was incredibly good. It was higher. It was bigger. It was more generous than what Nancy offered. Nancy's latest offer was $1,200 stimulus checks for adults. Adult dependents, however, would only get a $500 check. Not fair if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and railroad benefits. And you're a dependent, you did not get a first stimulus check. No, because CARES Act 1 said you're not supposed to get one. Well, this time around, Nancy only wants to give you $500. Why? She doesn't have any money to give it around? Well, she's at $3.4 trillion, then $2.2 trillion. She doesn't have any place in $2.2 trillion to give you a full stimulus check. Oh, she does. She just doesn't want to give it to you. Why? She's never explained that. She's never explained that she's not giving you the check either. She doesn't want you to know that you're not getting certain things. What Steve Mnuchin got very clearly, perhaps by listening from this channel, is that he needed to get out his numbers to press. We need to see the numbers. Americans are not stupid. I just understand why congressional leaders always think that Americans are stupid. We're not stupid. We know what $10 is, and we know that $10 is less than $20. They think that they don't tell you what's in a bag of chips. Then you'll just assume that there's chips in the bag. But when you open the bag and you see that they're peanuts, it's just like, wait a second, I thought I was getting a bag of chips. No, well, you didn't ask. And we're not telling you. So that's what Nancy Pelosi has done through this entire endeavor. Not told you. And ultimately, the big win in the last 48 hours has been Steve Mnuchin listening potentially to this channel, and who I've been, slamming him in unpolite ways and saying, Steve, I need to know your numbers. This is silliness. And suddenly, just ironically, after I went in very thick and deep on this subject matter just days before, his numbers appear in NBC News on Sunday. Coincidence? I think not. Well, his numbers are really good. The fact that he had really good numbers was surprising because, had you had bad numbers, you would understand why we had not seen them. But these were really good numbers. $1,200 stimulus checks for individuals, no different than the Temple Doom. $2,400 checks for married couples, no different than the Temple Doom. But then it gets different. Adult dependents, Steve Mnuchin, $1,200. Nancy Pelosi, $500. Yeah. The Democratic Party, the party that doesn't want to spend, that wants to spend lots of money, doesn't want to give a full stimulus check to people who are veterans who serve this country. It just baffles the mind. It really, really does. Steve Mnuchin, children, $1,000 checks. So these are people who are children, so hence their dependents. Nancy Pelosi, children going hungry. How much are children going hungry for Nancy Pelosi? $500. You wonder why they're going hungry, Nancy, because you didn't give them a full stimulus check. How many times does this woman think she can give a narrative with words, but not give us numbers? There was that memorable day in August, and when she appeared with a purple poster. That's just when Purple Power was starting to birth. And I said, "Oh, she has a poster that matches my new claim to fame, Purple Power." And her poster had on it Steve Mnuchin's incorrect numbers, his old numbers. Well, they're all wrong. In case children go hungry, which she's still saying, she's only going to give them a $500 stimulus check. Steve Mnuchin's going to give them $1,200. The rest of the things just keep on getting better as you go along for Steve Mnuchin and worse for Nancy Pelosi. Steve Mnuchin has always said he would give you multiple stimulus checks. He said that in statements. He does not pay you a multiple stimulus check in this proposal, even though he says, I will co-sign the Problem Solvers bill, which does have a second check in March. Nancy Pelosi, however, no time since the existence of this channel from April 25th to the present has she ever said that she's going to give you multiple stimulus checks. And that, in fact, you ask that, that's like, saying, are you going to get a new hairstyle, Nancy? How dare you ask that? Are you going to give us multiple stimulus checks? How dare you ask that? Children go hungry. I just, it's so obvious that she doesn't want to give us money and that she wants to give big government lots of money. Hazard pay. How'd you get from 3.4 to 2.2 trillion? She cut out hazard pay, cut out your money. How'd you get from 3.4 to 2.2 trillion? She cut out dependence checks to $1,200. She put it to $500. How did she get from 3.4 to 2.2 trillion? She kept on cutting money that was for you. Cut. But what did she not cut? Salary raises for federal employees. Oh no, they need a lot of money. Across the board, Steve Mnuchin really played his cards well in the last 48 hours because he not only put out a press release, which I said was much of nothing. Again, it was a lot of words, but no numbers. But he also put out incredible exemplary details about his numbers, and that the NBC News report also explained where his numbers had been and where it had gone to. So it was important because ultimately some people may not know the scope of the negotiations. He went from this, he went to there. And ultimately the news article said, what'd you expect it to say? Nancy Pelosi started here and is still there. She started here in July, she was there in August, and they was there in September, and still there in October. Does that sound really good for her? No. Does it sound good for the Democrats? No. Does it sound good for people who are wondering where their stimulus checks are? No. But ultimately, are people going to really understand when they go into the polls and they go to look at the vote, and it says incumbent, and it says Democrat, then you see a challenge as a Republican, they're going to understand that that Democratic House representative did nothing for them. I hope they do. I hope they understand that here was a good deal offer that Steve Mnuchin made, and the Democratic majority of the House rejected it for reasons that are really not clear. In fact, Nancy Pelosi's statement over the weekend showed that she really doesn't want to do a deal. She just wants to reject things. just rejecting things is sort of a, I don't know. It's sort of like a mantra, like a claim to fame now. I reject it. I reject it. I reject it. I remember the first time she rejected something, and someone was like, she rejected it. What does that mean, LALATE? I'm like, it just means she doesn't like it. No, but she rejected it. It's just, it's like, like there won't be a second date. She rejected you. It's very dramatic. I reject you. Well, needless to say, state and local under Chief MNUCHIN's offers $300 billion. That is enough money, Nancy. Governors Association and Moody's Analytics, which are third-party analytic tools, they are nonpartisan publications, much like the Purple Power, analyzed her original $950 billion bailout of states, which she never said that number ever to the public. She never once was quoted saying 951. We only know it's 951 because we found the number and we sort of threw it back in her face. And so does Moody's Analytics and Governors Association said 951 was bailout of state and local for 3 years. It's not just it's not loans, it's grants, full grants. Now states can go loan, they don't want to. They want you to go loan and lose your house and lose your home and lose, everything. They don't want to go borrow. They can, they don't want to. They want free grants from Nancy. They don't want 1 year. They don't want 6 months. They don't want, 8 months. They want 3 years. Well, their current proposal is $400 billion. Well, $400 billion compares to $950 billion. Well, or $900 billion. Guess what that is? That's about half of the way. So she's now at 1.5 years of grant money for the state and local. They don't need that. $300 billion. That's what they need. And guess what that is? That's Steve Mnuchin's offer. 1 year of grants. Now, ultimately, the reason why she may have rejected Steve Mnuchin's $300 billion offer, I don't know, this is conjecture, is that he may have put what's called guardrails on it. I've been talking about those guardrails for a while. We all know what Nancy has been doing, and her caper is up. What she has been doing is trying to give money to state and local that is under this bill, and then it's really not for COVID-19 issues. So they could just use the money for whatever they want. They can go, paint the Capitol building purple. Well, that would really be nice. But paint the Capitol building and get new chairs for the governor's office, new, restoration hardware chairs for the governor's office. Oh, but we can't because the bill doesn't say that we can't. That's what she wants. She wants everyone to just get free money to do whatever they want with free money, and it has nothing to do with you. Absolutely, categorically has nothing to do with you. And that's really where I think that the reason why it fell apart over the weekend, because she saw those guardrails. That's just my opinion. The question is, as we start the new day, is the renewed push, and I will hope, now that there's sort of a sense that maybe Steve Mnuchin is watching these videos, I would hope that you take this video and tweet it to Steve Mnuchin and say, Steve, these are the things that you really need to do. One, you need to make very clear what her deal offers were, because she doesn't give us her numbers. So now that you've given us your numbers, how about you give us her numbers, because we want to see how bad they are. We want to see whether she wanted $400 billion with no guardrails for states. So they could just, here's $400 billion of free money, just go do whatever you want to do with it. We want to know, Steve, why Nancy got rid of hazard pay, Steve. We want to know why Nancy would not give us multiple stimulus checks. We want to know, Steve, why Nancy would not give dependents a full stimulus check and you're giving a full stimulus check. We want to know, Steve, why Nancy's giving a raise to all these federal agencies. She's giving a raise in a stimulus bill for COVID-19 relief, where we need to crush the virus, and children going hungry, and it's science. But she wants to give salary raises to federal employees that don't do anything with crushing the virus. I want to know where she's doing that and how often she's doing that. And ultimately, I've gone over those numbers for you. And you remember that recording was about 2 weeks ago. I literally lost it because I was reading it as a cold read on camera, and I was like, is she having the audacity to do this? I'm just sort of... That's how I looked. I was just like, it was fire coming out of my teeth. Let me answer some of your incredible questions from last night. Let's American vote them all out. JP, that was John Bartlett. JP, we won't have to worry about any of this once the elections are announced. Wade, they failed American people and our founding followers. Helen, President Trump should go Go ahead and send out the stimulus checks to the American people. Magic Pumpkin, they need to say goodbye to their jobs. Bobby V, vote every one of them out. Donnell, exactly this way this country has been too old. Margaret, put big business ahead of the people. No way. Sue, she just wants to use the USA to be bankrupt and have a failed company. Mike, they all need to have failed. They've all failed the American people. Jack, a day late, a dollar short. Lizzie, without the stimulus there'll be no need for restaurants. That's a very good comment. Sylvia, I was able to help understand what's going on with the stimulus predicament only because I've listened to what you said. Thank you, Ally. I really appreciate that. Wally, thank you so much, Sylvia. Wally, the only people who care about themselves are these congressional leaders. Ashley, why can't they choose some adults to negotiate? Clearly, we've had some toddlers throwing tantrums. Monica, the president told the American people we're getting stimulus, and we're not. Kenneth, because the president does not do Margaret, it's a shame. It's just amazing how stupid, greedy, and lazy all these politicians are. Amen. Go to the Friends channel, subscribe. Subscribe because we're here to get through this together, and we will get through this together. It's close. We just need to get over that finish line. Also, like this video. Coming up next is Evenings LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay with LA for more.